So there's a new gun law going into effect, pretty much effective immediately in a lot of places. And it has to do with the gun show loophole. And ultimately who they're targeting is people who are doing these private firearm transactions, which if you live in Texas or Arkansas or one of the places where that's legal, technically you can sell your firearm to whoever you want, as long as you ask if they are a felon or not and you don't sell it to a felon or a prohibited user.
Well, this morning, new federal gun laws in effect in Texas. A temporary restraining order secured by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton ended overnight. The new regulation from the Biden administration is a direction to the U.S. Attorney General, and they will now enforce the Gun Control Act of 1968. It requires gun dealers to file an application with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and receive a license before opening for business.
Now, we've covered this a couple of times, but the airport executive in Little Rock, Arkansas, his name was Brian Malinowski. That's what they tried to get that guy on. The whole, oh, he sold an X amount of guns, so he's considered a dealer. The crazy part about this is the ATF can't define how many guns you have to sell in order for you to become this dealer status. Listen to the ATF director talk about this.
So if I a citizen, this country, I live in Texas, I have a weapon and I want to sell it to a fellow Texan, on an isolated basis, do I need a license?
Again, if you are not engaged in the business of selling firearms, those are Congress's words.
Is that engaging in the business? Is that engaging in activity that means I need a license?
I think pursuant to the clear language of Congress in doing this and to the things we've said in the rule, we specifically mentioned inheritance as one of the things that is not indicative of engaging in the business.
What if I have just 12, what if I have 12, 15, or 20 weapons and I sell 3 over the course of a year?
We can go through an endless series of hypotheticals. Hypotheticals aren't the way we address cases.
Do you understand, and I realize I'm over my time, do you understand why the average citizen sitting out there saying I've got 400 pages of rulemaking might not understand what they are allowed to do under the law when the director of the ATF can't look at a member of Congress and tell me yes or no emphatically whether or not if I sell a weapon or 2 weapons or 3 weapons or 5, whether or not I need a license?
So this is like saying, well, we don't price our shoes in our shoe store. We just come up with a price on the spot. And if we like you, we'll charge you $40. And if we don't like you, we'll charge you $2,000. Just depends on how we're feeling that day. How do you have a rule, but you can't define the rule, right? So if someone in Texas, for example, decides to sell a gun to one of his neighbors, wants to trade up, then maybe they do another one a month later. Is that a problem? Is that considered a dealer? Well, we don't know in the ATF size because they can't define the number. They've said on record, if you inherit 100 guns from your family, that's not a problem. But if you sell 4 in a month, it might be. The new rule would require firearms dealers to run background checks on buyers at gun shows or at other places outside of brick and mortar stores to curtail gun violence and close a loophole. So essentially what you're doing is you're finding a workaround for what states call private firearm transactions. You're getting rid of them. That's this rule. Did Texas or Arkansas pass a law saying that they can no longer do private firearm transactions? No, they did not. That's why Attorney General Ken Paxton sued you about this and got a restraining order against it. But of course, that restraining order is over with now, come June 3rd. Everyone, big thank you to Blackout Coffee for sponsoring today's video. They just came out with their premium instant coffee. Probably some of the best instant coffee I've ever tried. Oh, that's good. Now, for those of you who are more aggressive coffee drinkers like me, I'm talking like a pot of coffee before noon. The 5-pound bag. If you have a roast you really like, Brutal Awakening for me, just makes sense. But more importantly than all that, right now in America, it is so important for us to support companies who support Trump, who support our side, who are willing to fight alongside him. So we're giving you a discount code below the video. Go support an amazing business and get some amazing coffee. So, Dettelback was questioned more about this certain rule. And he said that this applies to people who are trying to make a profit from a private firearm transaction or a gun show or whatever.
My question is related to these changes on your rule and definition, what is engage in business rule. Do you think criminals that want to do something criminal are going to read your 500 pages of definitions? Are they going to read your 500 pages of definition explanations?
I think that I don't know who will read it.
As a normal American,
it's based
I
upon,
understand your definition.
It's implementation. It's implementing Congress's law.
Okay, how are you going to implement? I want to understand. I am a gun owner, and I'm going to decide occasionally, say, guys, occasionally I can do maybe 100 times, maybe 5 times. You know what? I am not engaged predominantly a profit. That I don't even have time to do a profit. So at which point, as a regular American citizen, so I understand that you are not going to cut off my electricity, show up to my house, and try to storm the house with a bunch of people that you don't even realize what's going on. So I can be in a situation like a lot of other Americans that not even realize that now you're redefining who the dealer is. So I want to get understanding. Summarize me understanding how I can explain to my constituent what it means now and how I am predominantly earn a profit in this. What is really the definition of that?
The statute that Congress passed says that if you're engaged in the business of dealing firearms, quote, predominantly for profit, right, that requires a license.
Let me ask you a question, Director. Who in the world wants to lose money on anything? Like if you're trying to sell something, is your first thought, you know what, I've got to price this to where I lose money. That's what I'll do. That makes a lot of sense. No, people don't work like that. That's stupid. But of course, the ATF makes a rule that is stupid. So this is all pretty simple. The ATF continues to make rules that go against the laws of either a state or the federal government. Why is this continuing to happen? And it's not the ATF's fault. You're not going to get mad at a kid for grabbing a cookie because you left the cookie jar out. The ATF is going to continue to do this until Congress slaps them in the face and says, we're either removing all power from you, but this is on Congress now. I mean, I continue to see these sessions where they bring in the director and they say, well, why are you doing this? And why are you doing this? You know what his answer is every time? Well, we have interpretations of what the laws that Congress pass.
The statute that Congress passed says that if you're engaged in the business of dealing firearms, quote, predominantly for profit, right, that requires a license.
Repeal the fucking laws. I'm going to stop getting mad at the ATF at this point. I'm going to start getting mad at Congress. You guys are sitting there questioning them like they're 4-year-olds who have no clue what they're doing, but then you say, okay, well, we'll just keep all the laws. Remove all the laws in terms of private firearm transactions. Remove all the laws in terms of the NFA. Anything that the ATF is encroaching on, remove the laws. Then it's no longer an issue. But at the end of the day, this is on Congress at this point, and we're all tired of it.